I am literally reading my messages on here and in my Facebook at the same time. It's snowing here in Colorado.
So they're trying to get me on their page right now,
which I love. It's perfect for.
I can't get in there. So I sent her a StreamYard to see if she'll come on mine. We'll see what happens. I have heard streaming, but I'm in Facebook jail, so I can only go live to my groups. Yes. And then we'll come back in. You can share this in your group. Absolutely. There you go. They'll share this in the group. She's gonna come on here, so that'll be good. She got the message. So I was watching. There she is.
Yay! Hey. All right. So I have to send this link to the group, right?
Yeah, I just had you. I had you streaming live, so you were streaming live in my StreamYard just now. I was like, oh, we can't get Facebook to work. But you can put this right on your Facebook, and they can chat.
Okay.
And you can just watch your chat.
Okay, I'm going to do that as we speak. And
so all you'll need to do is kill the volume, but you'll want to keep it running so that you can see the live chats. That way you can share it. So
okay, kill the volume on my computer?
No, not on your computer, just on that Facebook video, because you're going to let this play, and then that way you can see the chats from Facebook. We also have like 500 people watching here sending in questions that you can see too. So some of these people are all going to be coming from Facebook.
Awesome.
So yeah, so cool. Yeah, technical difficulties.
It's the way of the world, right?
It is. And what I'll do is I'm going to go grab a link to your group right now, and I can put that at the bottom of this StreamYard too. So
okay, perfect.
But yeah, I don't know what Facebook is doing right now with these Facebook Lives or allowing people to do like FaceTime and stuff. So here's a link to the group, and you can watch on Facebook over there, and she'll be watching that for questions. That's in the bottom. So it's in the chat too on both YouTube and Facebook. So, well, tell me about yourself or ask me questions. This is your interview.
I know, I'm on yours. And so basically we were trying to do a fire.
Who's Jennifer? Is Jennifer someone else?
No, she is. I sent her the link that you sent me. So maybe that's not how I was supposed to do it.
Oh no, that's the StreamYard. She just came on for a second.
Okay, I'm going to change this really quick before anybody else does.
Yeah. Oh, now see, everybody's coming on. It doesn't even matter. They're all coming in right now.
I'm deleting.
Who is do you know who Slivers is that's in here? That's awesome. I'm gonna start adding people just to get in.
Okay, I deleted it.
Nah, yeah. So you got to go to my Facebook and just share the video from my Facebook into your group.
On your page.
Yeah, because you're bringing everybody in from chat. See.
I deleted it. They're still coming on.
We're just getting random folks into the panel tonight. But I can start kicking them from here. Oh no, not ban. I don't want to ban from studio. I just want to kick from studio. Kick guest. All you random people from Facebook coming in.
That is so funny. All right. So now I've shared it with Facebook.
Yeah, and I'm going to be kicking people out the whole time. Maybe we'll let them come on and ask questions.
That would be a new way of doing this.
Yes, we can put them in. Let me do this. Let's do this. If you're watching, I'll throw this in the link so everybody has a chance, but I'm only going to bring you one on at a time, and you can ask a question, I guess, if you make it. Because you'll just sit in there. All right. So, yeah. So tell me what's going on and what kind of group you're running here.
So we have True Crime Uncensored on Facebook. We have over 18,000 members. At this point, we're probably adding close to 100 members an hour. And the idea behind our group is that it's uncensored discussion. And the reason why I started it that way is because when the Shanann Watts and the Chris Watts case was happening, I was asking questions about Shanann Watts and the relationship, and people were censoring it and saying, we don't want to talk about her or her history. And I said, it's important to understand everything. And if you want to ask the questions, there's nothing wrong with it as long as it's respectful. So we started the group at that point. I don't believe in censorship. And, for me, it's really about letting members ask questions regardless of how uncomfortable they are and being respectful to other members. So we don't allow, a lot of people think not censored means you can say whatever you want to another member, and that's not the case. It's civil discussions, but around whatever discussion that you're comfortable with. So that's the group. And, it's definitely like you, kind of just blown up and, from one case just turned into this big group of people who just really want to talk about these things. And there's definitely a lot of crime junkies out there.
Yeah, there is. So what's some of the questions you got? What's some of the questions that you have? Or...
So a couple of questions we had for you first of all, for me is, how did you start with, first of all, what does dad with a phone mean besides the obvious? And then how did you start? What case got you going?
Yeah, so I had a social media page for my local town here, Woodland Park. It was called the Woodland Park Underground. Mm-hmm. And so I just covered everything in town, from parades to the local news. If there was something with the cops, if something had gone down with the cops, I would go check it out. It's a real small community, a town of about 7,500 people. It's only like 6 or so square miles, so it's not a real big area. We're surrounded by national forests. We're at 8,500 feet in the mountains. And all of a sudden, there was a missing woman in the Thanksgiving 2018. A woman went missing. And I didn't cover true crime. I didn't really follow like the true crime community. I didn't even know these true crime Facebook groups existed or YouTube group existed. And so at that point, I just was like, hey, this is something going on in my town. I'm going to find out what's going on. It turns out it was literally right down the street from me where this would all kind of unfold. And that was the Patrick Frazee case, Kelsey Barrett's case, this missing mom in Colorado over Thanksgiving. And so I followed that case and went to all the court trials, followed it closely to questions. I know a lot of people in town, so it was the big talk of the town. So I was getting information about it, and just because I already kind of had a reputation of going through and looking into stories, I had looked into other stories that had happened in town, but not like crime stories. So that's kind of how it started with the underground. And I ran into some true crimers online, or like the true crimers contacted me, and I went on their page, talked about what was going on. And then when at one of the first trials, there was a picture snapped at the Patrick Frazee, and it was the guard, Patrick Frazee, and then I'm in the background holding my phone, and somebody was like, oh, you're just a dad with the phone. And I just grabbed that. I created a Facebook page, I created a YouTube, and I didn't even do anything with it. It just sat there for a second. And then as this case kind of built, I had things like my YouTube channel was shut down. So when my YouTube channel got shut down, I was already kind of set up, and I just launched Dad with the Phone. And then I was going to talk about true crime and that kind of deal. And so it kind of just went from that. I covered a couple other cases kind of softly. We got some cold cases that we're looking into, where we got police evidence from cold cases that we're looking into. It just kind of went. And then the community, like you already know, it couldn't probably be numbered at this time. The numbers probably couldn't be calculated for who's in the true crime community. So
yeah, it's definitely something people are interested in. So you didn't want to actually get involved in the true crime community. You kind of got swept into it. So how do you feel about it now?
Well, I watched Making of a Murderer. I watched all this stuff on Netflix and on the television before. And then when I got into this case, the Patrick Frazee case, I just realized, oh, this is kind of way more exciting because this is real life happening right now, right in front of us, unfolding. And so my father was law enforcement for 50 years. And so I have it like in my blood, even if I didn't become law enforcement, just still that there's still something in that DNA to look into stuff. And so, and people seem to watch and listen, and some people seem to hate, and you got to have your haters and your lovers, and so it's been fun.
Yeah. So speaking of haters, so we started with the Chris Watts case in True Crime Uncensored,
Okay.
and I actually got a hate letter in the mail at my house with red glitter in it. And I was just like, oh my God, these people. And she went in and she was supposedly doing some history check on my husband, who she didn't even get the right person. And it was just like this handwritten letter, really creepy. So there's a lot of people out there who probably take this a little bit more serious than they should. And I've seen some of them on your page kind of going after you. So how do you feel about the trolls of Facebook?
Well, you got a handwritten letter. I got a bag of dicks in the mail. So I don't have it sitting here. I should have it sitting here with me, but like, yeah, no. Look, if you're gonna put yourself out there, right? If you're gonna put your face on a camera on the internet, people are gonna say shit. That's all there is to it. They're gonna say stuff, and they're gonna say it for different reasons. Sometimes they want to get something out of you. I put my cell phone number. I have a cell phone that I was using it as a regular phone. It turned into like a crazy phone, and you put your number on the internet, you're gonna get crazy phone calls. But you're also gonna get calls from people that want to stay anonymous, and they want to give you inside information into different cases. And sometimes that information is credible. And as you read through sources and read through stuff, you begin to realize that there is this desire in all of us to be like first. We want to tell a secret first. And so like if we find something out, we want to tell a secret. And even if we're not supposed to tell the secret, we still want to go tell the secret. And so when it comes to true crime, everybody's listening. Like the lady who cleans the trash can at the sheriff's department, she's like glancing at every desk to see if she can get a secret that nobody knows. Or, the guy who, sweeps up in the courthouse, he's always looking for secrets, right? Because there is this something in us that want to be able to know something a little bit more than we're supposed to. So,
yeah. And my background's in journalism, and you kind of walk this line of being the first to say something and wanting to also be responsible. And it seems like that line's becoming more and more blurred with social media taking the jump on it.
Yeah. Yeah. People get mad at me if I release something before. Like I'm not going to claim that I knew first, because I didn't know first. But I said pretty publicly, pretty soon, right after Tisha Stauch was arrested in the Gannon case. And, I said it shirtless from my bed, because that's how I found out. I was like, oh my God, she's been arrested. She's getting arrested as we speak, and that was information that I had just gotten, but I took the time at least to like spit it off a few other people to see what would happen. And I got a response that was like, oh God, this is pretty freaking accurate. How'd you find out? And at that point I wasn't answering how I found out. I was going live, And so, yeah, you don't want to say something that's wrong or inaccurate. And listen, I admitted to it the other day. I'm not even afraid of it. Like when I got into this true crime world, I am manipulative by nature. And so sometimes I manipulated information, whether I gave a little bit or I added a little bit or I took away a little bit. But that's part of the entertainment of what's happening online. And so people can get mad. People can get upset. They don't have to watch. There's so many of us, and it's just going to grow faster, right? There's so many people creating content about crimes. Nobody's right or wrong. It is a free press. It is, freedom of speech, uncensored. You can say fuck, shit, damn, and talk about people getting murdered, and the FCC's not gonna come in and cut us off. Do we have to filter ourselves? Yeah, sometimes we filter ourselves, sometimes we don't.
So I'm seeing that my True Crime Uncensored members are actually jumping on now, which is great. They made it through my own ding dong issues. So welcome to my members from my group. So hopefully we can cross paths there. One of the things I wanted to do with my group, and I'd love to pass it on to you guys as well, is I was going to give away one of my books that I wrote at the end of this. So if you're okay with that, I'll pass it on to your people too, since we're on your channel right now.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing one of the questions is, and you're a dad, I'm a mom, and this is a good question, is how do you keep your own kids safe when you're kind of in this world?
Well, so like I homeschool my children, and some people even would consider what my wife and I choose with our children is like an uncensored, or not an unschooling, kind of an unschooling effect. And so my kids are very much aware of their dad's personality online, and it not only with you guys in a national sense, like right now there's people from all over the world watching, but we'll go to the grocery store and people will say, oh, there's Mr. Underground from the Woodland Park Underground, or, there's Dad with the phone. And so I realized when you have stuff happen locally, my kids notice that stuff. Oh, Dad, you're famous around town. No, I'm probably more infamous than famous, but, the kids are growing up in a TikTok world. They're growing up where, the number one thing they want to be in school is famous. Like if you ask a kid, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be famous, And so kids understand this more than I do. I'm 40 years old, and it used to be you had to have a semi truck to broadcast. And now I have a cell phone that's a television station. So on top of that, we're just babies too. Like the best podcasters, any subject, the guys who've been doing this and they're at the top of the game, they've only been doing it 10 years. So there's really no experts when it comes to this podcast, true live content. So we're just living life. I mean, I take people fishing on some of my videos, so sometimes it's not all true crime. So
yeah, I've seen that. I've followed you for quite some time. You were actually one of the first members in my group. I think when we were less than maybe 3,000 people, and now we're close to 20,000. So yeah. I consider you an OG True Crime Uncensored member. We have a question from Anna Rose Ferris from Fountain, Colorado. I'm guessing you know where Fountain, Colorado is.
This is close to where Gannon went missing.
Okay, and I do want to talk about Gannon with you, but before that, she says, don't you think a lot of people are trying to solve the crime before law enforcement and they get a little carried away with their theories?
So, like if you turn on like the old crime shows and stuff, a lot of those crime shows are real stories where they just change the names of stuff. Right? They just change the names, but they're just real stories. And the funny thing is people can speculate and imagine what happened. I promise you, it will not be as strange as the truth when the truth comes out in different cases. Like people could imagine what happened in the Kelsey Barrett case, but when the truth came out, there's no imagination needed. This is as gruesome and as wicked as it needs to be. The same thing with the Chris Watts case. You can imagine and you can say and think what you may about what happened, but when his confession continues to roll out and the law enforcement says, yeah, this is probably what took place, and they, this is what's going on, there's always going to be speculation when someone confesses and we don't get to hear. But when you see the evidence laid out in the courtroom, you realize that the speculation, it may be crazy when there's families involved listening, and that's what makes it hard for people, is when families get on social media in these speculation groups, because now all of a sudden if you speculate or if you say something and there's a family member here, it all becomes disrespectful, right? And you want to be as respectful as you can with the family, even if it's to the point where you're blocking them from the discussion only out of their own protection, you know? And so there is a fine line, but is there? Because you have the option to turn off whatever you want to turn off. And so if somebody that you're watching is going crazy with speculation or idiot talk, I've heard some idiot talk. And when you got idiot talk, you just got to turn the idiots off. And so if I go idiot on you, then turn me off. Now, what I find funny is when you want to turn me off, that you have to announce that you're leaving. I am leaving this group. Okay. Perfect. Cool. I'm glad you announced it to the world. So, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if there's I guess it's your own compass. So,
it is your own compass, and I love that people that announce that they're leaving from the group, especially when you have a group of 18,000 people. It's like, we didn't see that number drop. We didn't notice it, and I would love to have that kind of confidence where I feel like 18,000 people need to know I left a group. So it's, maybe that's something to look up to.
Now listen, I'm just as hard on admins. Like I've said it 100 times that the lowest form of government is like Facebook admins.
Yeah.
Like they didn't get elected. They weren't elected into, I'm an admin elected of this group. Like if we were to take a vote in your group of 18,000, because it's not a democracy. You don't get to elect Facebook admins. Right. And so in some sort, it is kind of the lowest form of government. The HOA even has to be elected, a homeowners association, but not Facebook admins. And, when I first started in the true crime world, just 2018, the end of 2018, I stole a line from the bank robber movie, The Inside Man. It was like about the Nazis, and it was when there's blood on the streets, buy property or start a Facebook group. Because in the true crime world, when the next blood's on the street, the next kid's missing, the next something, the next mystery, Facebook groups, and you have people who are now governing small cities, like 18,000 people. You're the governor, you're the admin of a small city community online. And so, no, it's an interesting mix of people. So
it is, and it seems to be waves, because right now a lot of people are watching the Gabriel Fernandez trial on Netflix. So everybody's posting crime against children, and that can definitely get insanely overwhelming. So we actually, at one point, kind of had to censor it and say, okay, that's all we're seeing in the group, and we had to scale it back. And it's true, we do have to kind of make decisions regardless. So you're actually pretty much covering the Gannon Stauch case extensively at this point, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple other cases that I am kind of still touching on. I have a 10 or 15, I think I have 12 videos up now on my YouTube and Facebook about a case called the Mindy Lee case, A Mother's Journey for Answers. And how it started is, again, a mother, and the Mindy Lee case is, again, another local Woodland Park case. I actually lived here when all of it unfolded. I just didn't follow true crime, and I didn't follow into that case. I wish I would have 10 years ago. So this is a case from 10 years ago, where a woman was found frozen on a football field. And I've obtained the entire crime scene and crime reports, the autopsy reports. So I've obtained all this because there was never anybody held responsible. And it's a real crazy story that I'm not going to get into. But what made this case so crazy is the mother of the woman who was found on the football field, when she was talking to people, because her daughter was missing for 5 days. And then it was this mystery of this girl that had been found frozen on a football field. And so her mom was going to like the police and to lawyers and to other detectives, and she was talking to them, but she was recording everything secretly. And so she had these recordings that were 10 years old that nobody had ever listened to. And after the Kelsey Barrett case, and I had talked to her a little bit, and I knew about the case. So I knew about the case, and I knew there was some shadiness involved. And so we started looking into that case. So that's a cool series, kind of, it's 10 videos on Dad with the Phone to bring awareness to the Mindy Lee case. And I can promise you this, that there are some things in the works to get that case reopened. It's just that just takes time. If you think it takes time to get through a trial, try to get a cold case reopened, or a case that has had no justice, and it's going to take time, but there are some things in the work there. The Gannon case is as close to my house in a sense as where I had to travel with the Patrick Frazee case. So I had to travel about 30 miles to the courthouse in Teller County, even though the murder happened down the street from my house. Patrick was tried in Teller County in Cripple Creek, Colorado. And so I had to travel to that courthouse. It's about 35, 40 minutes. It takes me 25 minutes to get to the Colorado Springs courthouse where the Gannon case will be heard and where Letitia Stauch will be tried for the murder of Gannon. And so for me, it's not all about just YouTube. It really isn't. It's not all about Facebook, and it's not all about bringing stuff to the audience. It's about my life. It's about living my life, that when I'm an 85-year-old man with my grandchildren and I turn on a documentary about a case and I'd be like, you see Grandpa, he's on the front row there, you know? So part of it's about just living a life. And if you're going to get into true crime, why not actually go and sit in the courtroom and listen? So,
yeah, and I agree with that, absolutely. And we've had a few questions, and I think people are a little confused because they're just joining us. I'm going to just clarify really quick. I'm Tina Williams. My group is True Crime Uncensored on Facebook. I'm also a paranormal mystery author, and I speak on true crime at different conventions like Phoenix Comic Con and stuff. We, in the true crime group, we cover pretty much any case. It's an open forum where people can chit chat. It's uncensored, so you can ask whatever question you want. The discussions are uncensored. And one of the things that I've noticed with you is, I know you started covering true crime with Kelsey Barrett, but it seems like Colorado has kind of become the hub of true crime lately. So you're almost in the perfect position.
And I had a conversation with another YouTuber, Scott Reich over at Crime Talk on YouTube, and he's Colorado. And he kind of got into it during the Chris Watts case. And I told him, I was like, y'all just lucky I didn't understand the true crime world during Chris Watts, because I'd have been all over that. You know, I'd have been up there in freaking Longmont. I've been to Chris Watts' house now. Since I got into true crime, I've driven up there. I took drone footage around the house and really kind of looked into that case a little bit. But had I joined that, you know, the true crime world 4 months earlier, because that was just 4 or 5 months before Patrick Frazee, and it seems like there are people that are in the true crime world that started before Chris Watts. There are people that did the JonBenet Ramsey case. There are people that have covered other cases. But it seems like the Chris Watts case was like the viral case. That's the case that set the true crime community off. It's the one that definitely exploded on Facebook.
Yeah,
like that's there's JonBenet Ramsey groups, and there's all other, you know, different groups. But when that Chris Watts took off on Facebook, that's where I caught attention to it, because I already had, you know, 18,000 people on, or 16,000 people on my underground channel, and I was just targeting local people. On top of that, I've been working in the social media industry for a minute. I just recently came out from behind the camera, so I've been doing social media videos for authors and for speakers and businesses for years, but it's been in the corporate world, you know. And so to understand what's happening now is a lot of us don't understand. It's just happening right in front of us. And so
we're getting quite a few questions in here, some for both of us, and I do want to try to
go for it.
Great questions. One of the questions is, have either of us covered the Kristen Smart case? I personally haven't. Some of the bigger cases I've covered, which is a little bit more on the paranormal side, would be like the Alyssa Lamb, the Dyatlov Pass. So some of the older stuff, and then of course Chris Watts, Kelsey Barrett, some of the newer stuff within the group. So I don't know. Have you covered that one at all?
I haven't covered that. I've looked into. I'm looking at the Megan Faramuska, the Heidi Brizard case down in Austin. I'm looking at the Mindy Lee case, the Gannon case. There's a missing woman, Jepsy Kalungi from Colorado Springs, that I have touched and covered on, and will continue to look and stuff in that. But no, again, this is like Gannon's case is such a, like, it's a live case happening in front of us. So there's a lot of information daily right now. It'll slow down, but it really doesn't. I mean, we're going to be in April in no time at another hearing. So we're going to get more information. So it is draining to try to jump from case to case, to try to do a one-off video on a case. Sometimes I did some stuff with the Megan Boswell case that just with is it Elena Evelyn? Oh God, I want to say her name wrong.
Evelyn Boswell.
Yeah, what?
Evelyn and Megan Boswell.
Yeah, Evelyn and Megan Boswell. And so, like, I looked at that case like a one-off video, but no, there's some other local cases I want to look into, but there's so many.
There is so many. Especially, it seems like there's Lori Vallow that we're covering.
Yeah, that's another
right
one.
now. Yeah. So, and unfortunately, they're all involving kids. And I don't know if it's just because that's what we're clicking on and that's what's getting the attention, or if there just seems to be an influx of it right now. One of the questions that came through is for both of us was, what do we have an idea of what, or a guess or a theory of why T. Stauch did what she did to Gannon? I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I covered this morning. I think money's involved. I think there was an insurance policy on Gannon that Tisha took out without Al knowing. I actually think that it was a planned deal, maybe from 6-8 months, a year ago. I think that there is this thing with I don't know. I think there's some things with maybe there was some jealousy involved there. I think there was just, life is tough. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, she's obviously not right in the head. So, like, I mean, if you want to start there, why she did it, there's something that a switch that was turned at some point. And so, I mean, this is a woman who has coached softball. This is a woman who has helped and interacted with kids for years, a teacher. And so something flipped, you know?
Yeah, that's my theory as well, is something kind of flipped with her. You know, I almost, and we have to say at this point, allegedly, right? She allegedly killed him.
I don't. This is this is down with the phone, but right now we're kind of uncensored.
Yeah, there you go.
Say whatever.
She's guilty as hell, and I have a feeling you do too. I think she snapped. It doesn't seem like it was done very clean, which to me makes me think it wasn't really planned. And, you know, she may have kind of fantasized about it at one point. I had an interesting interview with Dr. Catherine Ramsland, and she was the forensic psychologist that spent 6 years with the BTK killer. And I kind of picked her brain about stuff like this. And, you know, she says a lot of times it's not that they snap. They're always been in this position of wanting to do it and fantasizing, and they just kind of have an opportunity and then they act on it. And, you know, the first time they kill somebody, they don't expect it to be as difficult as it is physically. So, you know, I think she just unfortunately snapped, and fortunately was messy enough that whatever evidence they have was enough for them to arrest her, because we still don't have a body on it. And clearly you covered Kelsey Barrett. You don't need a body to get a guilty conviction. You know, so were you surprised by the outcome with Kelsey Barrett, with how gruesome it was with what happened to her?
Yeah, because again, it wasn't like speculation. They were telling this story as if it was fact. And when you're listening to it as if it's fact, then you're listening to a story where a guy takes a woman who was gorgeous. This is Kelsey. I mean, she was not only gorgeous, she was smart, intelligent. She was a pilot.
Successful.
She was a pilot. I mean, she was the full package, right? She loved you undyingly. She would, to the point to where she would spend all hours of the night taking care of Patrick. Well, like she was. I mean, we would find this out, and so when the story came out of what happened, and this story of a guy who took candles over to play this romantic game of blindfold and then beat her to death with the bat. And forensically, the expert testified that he hit her into double digits. And so when you start thinking about the baby in the other room and stuff like that, you start going, this is bullshit. They're making this up for a movie. They're writing this for Lifetime. But then when you hear the testimony and then the evidence and then the premeditation or the at least planning of how to get rid of a body took place. And the fact that this thing was premeditated months in advance, that the girlfriend almost came down here and killed Kelsey 4 times or 3 times, and, poison coffee and these back and forth cloak and dagger exchanges through cell phones. When you hear that unfold in court with evidence, you're like, why do I even need speculation? Why do I even need the fiction? Because it happened. Now, the hammer came down, and yeah, there were times when we looked at him, we were like, what? Are they really going to convict him on this? Because some of it was like, they didn't question her story. Now, I can tell you this, the Patrick Frazee case is not over. This case has, they've already filed appeals. Yeah, they've already filed appeals. Now that's standard in Colorado, so it's not like you automatically get an appeal in a first-degree murder trial. So your first appeal is going to automatically be filed for the appellate court to look at your case. And so that's pretty standard. But it concerns me because there's a couple of things. Their lead witness is going to be out in less than a year and a half. She made a deal, and the DA called it a deal with the devil. So Patrick got
Aren't they all though? Aren't they all?
Yeah, they're all devils. They're all freaking devils. And so, but that was something that I learned. Like you hear about these amazing deals, and those amazing deals do get done. I watched it happen. And so, like, that's not the only time, and you were talking about her, maybe something she had fantasized. I know of a rape case that happened, and the guy was convicted of rape, and he was a high up in like a nonprofit. And and I know a pastor that interviewed him afterwards, like he did an interview with him. And it started with, I was watching porn, and then I started watching rape porn. And then I started following women in the mall, just fantasizing about raping them, but I never did. And then all of a sudden I found myself in an elevator, and it was like it took over, and I raped a woman in this elevator. And so, like, it was this gradual steps that he did that got him to the point of what he ended up doing. And I think the same thing with murder. Like, man, my life would be better without Gannon in it. Man, what could I do? Could there be an accident? Could I do this? If I'm going to do this, should I get a life insurance? All these things that could go through in the fantasy, and then something happens, the moment happens, the snap happens, and it goes, and now we find ourselves in a situation. I will say that although they may have physical evidence, at this point we don't believe they have a body, and you just can't make a body disappear in this day and age. So I'm holding out hope that they find Gannon in the Tisha Stauch case. So
that is one of the questions too. And since a lot of my guys are not in Colorado, a lot of people are asking, why do you think they haven't found Gannon's body yet? Can you give us a little bit of background of what's happening in Colorado now that people like me in Arizona don't experience?
Or are you talking about weather?
Weather, geography.
Yeah, I mean, Colorado is a special place in and of itself with the mountains. There is a lot of places that, you could go that are very seldom visited, and especially during this time of year with the weather. You could go if you knew of a place, if you had planned out ahead of time. You could find a place to you could hide a body. The question will be is if she left all devices at home, if the car that she was in didn't have GPS, if some things, there's a lot of ifs involved. I suspect that they have a good idea and they may be hindered by some weather and or that they it could just be something where they just haven't got there yet. Like they're still exhausting the means. They're still searching. They were searching today. They were searching yesterday. So they're still searching areas. It's not big televised because they're keeping the search areas at least somewhat private and somewhat, away from media outlets. But social media is playing a different game, and we play by different rules. And so there are still people getting information. But I just hope, like, is part of me holds out that that she gives it up, or that someone else gives them information that leads them to Gannon. And so, she was singing so much, she was talking so much that I feel like if she talked to the public and said the things she said to the public, she probably talked to one of her friends or somebody close by and gave them a little bit more info. So.
Yeah, one thing about these criminals is it's very difficult for them to keep their mouth shut. So they don't have to say much for it to lead into the direction to get information. I mean, you look at Evelyn Boswell, she was found on a property that was already searched. So, it's very easy to lose a body. I've covered a lot of missing cases where there's cadaver dogs just a few feet away from a body and they don't catch the scent because of the wind. So it's a lot harder to find a body than I think people really realize. So especially with the snow and the weather there, that's got to hinder it. That terrain out there does not seem like it's going to be easy to kind of navigate.
Yeah, and it's not. And then, on top of that, just the press. So, I mean, social media doesn't make anything easier, but really the press doesn't make it easier. I mean, if you watch that with the phone, you could see in that hallway like just droves of cameras for this just one little pretrial thing. And that's only going to magnify. And so they're all looking for the press and the media, the traditional media is all looking for that next click or that next follow, that next comment on their social media. So the difference between me and them a lot of times is the size of their camera or whatever, And so that's what's funny is there's going to be things that hinder it in the social media, and law enforcement will say, social media is hindering this investigation. I don't necessarily know how true that is because it is simply the world we live in. So, but I think on the flip side, social media is going to do a lot more good than it does bad in cases as we go and as true crime, as the following grows, because people are faster than the cops and information flies faster. Sometimes people will talk to me that won't talk to the police. And so they're going to say things that they haven't said to the cops. So.
Yeah, and we get a lot, I get a lot of messages from people who their family members' cases have gone cold and they're reaching out and they're just trying to get any kind of exposure they can. And social media has been helping with that. So I definitely think, like you said, there's pluses and minuses to it. And I think if we focus on the positives, like you trying to get this case reopened, I think that's huge. Do you see yourself kind of going more down that road of working more on cold cases to try to, help these people get exposure?
I mean, there's plenty of them. I have a case right now that I want to start where, they know who the murderer is, and the murderer is still walking free. and it was a husband who murdered a mother, and all three of the kids know that it was the dad, and they have completely severed the relationship with the father over 10 or 15 years, but that dad still haunts them and still harasses them on holidays and still says things, and they know it was him without a doubt. And so yeah, there are cases like that one that I want to just blow open, right? Because you want the exposure, if anything, justice for the siblings. The Mindy Lee case is another one where a mother has literally given away the last 10 years of her life, have been focused 85% on getting answers for what happened to Mindy Lee. And so, yeah, you cry out with them, but then you also see that, like, law enforcement are just people, and they're trying to pay their bill, do their job, handle the day-to-day responsibilities, deal with the politicians, trying to get, especially in small community like where I'm at, you start messing with closed or cold cases, people, they don't want to, why are you going to bring this headache on? So you start running into brick walls. I don't know if I see myself doing it on a regular basis, or just, it's kind of how it goes. I mean, like, I didn't see myself a month ago diving head first. I didn't see myself getting a Gannon tattoo a month ago, and so, sometimes they reach out and grab you and there's nothing you can do about it. So
yeah, and for me, I was friends with Travis Alexander, who's a famous case out here in Arizona, and it is because she's up for appeal again, Jodi Arias, and it is difficult, and especially running a true crime group, when I see that come up, just seeing that conversation around it, it's difficult to see again. So some of these people, even though the case may be cold, like you said, it's just not an easy journey for them to go down, and I don't blame them one bit. So I promised my group an hour, and we're just at an hour. And I also promised to give away a book. Do you have, I'm kind of taking over your channel right now. Do you have anything you wanted to do extra, or?
No, I'm down. So what are y'all focusing on? You kind of focus on everything. You'll let any case come in and y'all will talk about it.
Yeah, it's true crime. So anything true crime related. I studied a lot about serial killers when I was in college. So we do cover quite a bit on serial killers. We go back, over 100 years to some cases sometimes and chat about it. And it's interesting to see which cases really get the conversation going. And it seems like people are interested in the same cases. So we cover everything. We don't censor discussions. Like I said, the only time we censor discussions is when we were literally getting like 30 children death rape cases a day, and it was just too much for everybody. We just kind of said we need to scale back a bit. But we don't have any kind of censorship on that, and we talk about everything that people want to talk about.
Sweet. Well, no, and I'm glad we got to do this, even if we didn't work out directly on your channel. People can find that True Crime Uncensored discussion on Facebook.
Yeah, so it's True Crime Uncensored. We have a skull as the cover photo, so you'll be able to find it. I said I would give away my book. I don't know how I'm going to do that here. So maybe we can just, there you go. That's a True Crime Uncensored group.
There you go.
And we go through over about 1,000 member requests a day, and my admins are on top of it. So if you sent a request in, as long as you answer the questions, we'll get you in. As far as my books go, the one I was going to give away, and I haven't figured out how we're going to do this, it's your channel, so maybe you can come up with a way to give it away. It's called Clusters, Cases of Missing. It's a paranormal mystery based on real cases of missing people. So I kind of intertwined real cases of missing people and a paranormal mystery. So I don't know how we can give this away. So if you can come up with an idea on your own channel.
So you just want to give it away right now?
Yeah, we can if you want to.
All right. First one to call Dad with the phone and get through, you win the book right now. My phone number is at the bottom of the screen. If you want this book, you better call it right now.
There you go.
That's the easiest way. So we're giving this book away to the first caller who calls 719-377-0343. And when my phone rings, I'll answer it. We're going to bring you on live, and then we'll get your information offline. Oh, there it is from Reading, Pennsylvania. The phone call's coming in. You're live with Dad with a Phone. Are you there? Oh, I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you? Decline. Let me put you on speaker. Are you there now? Decline. Put that on speaker. You there? Oh.
Did you lose them?
No, they're there. Oh, Colorado Springs, decline. I'm trying to put the one. Now I got too many people calling in, so I can't get them. I can't get them on speaker. Are you there? Oh, are you there?
Yeah.
Are you in PA?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure I didn't hang up on you. So here's what we're gonna do. Are you a member of the True Crime Uncensored group?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
But
you're.
I'm going to join.
Okay, you're gonna join. All right.
Yeah.
So here's what you'll do. Are you a member of Dad with the Phone?
Yes.
All right. So here's the easiest way for me to do this is send me a text message to this number with your address.
Okay.
Because I have the number where you call from, so you can send me a text message, and we'll get you. I'll send this over to Tina, and we'll get you a book in the mail.
That sounds awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for calling Dad with the Phone.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
That's exciting. I felt like I was on a radio station for a second.
Yeah. Now look. I gotta take my phone number off because it's gonna go off for the next hour. Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
so people ask. It's called Clusters: Case of the Missing. My pen name is T.M. Williams, not Tina Williams.
Oh.
If you want to find it, you can find it that way. But the group, as you can see on the screen, is True Crime Uncensored, and we welcome everybody as long as you're kind to the other members and can debate like an adult. Then you'll fit in just fine.
Perfect. Well, cool. Well, once I get this address texted to me, I will send it over to you. And I'm glad this worked out. And we'll have to do it again for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked seeing all your guys commenting on here. It was interesting meshing our two groups of people and seeing everybody kind of jive together.
Yeah, it was awesome. So cool. Well, I'll talk to you later, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Michael.
All right. Thank you guys for joining. We'll see you guys later.